Welcome back. So you remember last time the guys were busy creating the foam for the bracing for this one. So Zach was working on getting the glass bits cut there so they can glass the bracing in. So that one's moving along. And Jeff's been busy working on everything related to the strake tank. So these are the aluminum little pieces that he's created there and tapped for the outlets for the tanks. There's a shut-off valve that we're going to be using. There's going to be two of those, so we can shut off the fuel from either strake if we need to for maintenance. And here's those aluminum hard points. You see Jeff's basically bonding those into the back wall of the strake tank there, and just a little bit of peel ply over the top of the layup. And there's one of them after the layup was cured. So there's the outlet. There's two outlets in the bottom of the tanks, one on either side of the wheel well. And then up the top of each tank we have a breather thing there. So one of those is a breather and the other one is the return fuel coming from the heating system, from the heat exchanger in the engine. And that's going to be sending warm fuel into the tanks. So with a dual purpose, as you know, of keeping the fuel warm, but also cooling the engine. And since you last saw these door hook receivers, I've drilled and tapped the holes there and put the stainless steel Allen bolt screws in there, and then I put this temporarily, just put these foam blocks over the top so they're ready for the layup. And these funky looking things are FR4, which is basically solid fiberglass little cover plates there that I've created for each of those ends there over where the sleeves are for the hinges. And they serve a dual purpose. One is to stop the pressure from leaking out, but also the other is to stop the pins from falling back into the cabin for the hinges. So here you can see I've basically put them in place there. I'm just using an elastic band with a little bit of a craft stick sort of cut up there to hold them in place, and they've been bonded in with some resin mixed with some micro. And as you'll see in a little bit how they work, but anyway, that's basically how they sit there. And from the top there you can see how I'm holding that in with an elastic band, so that actually worked out pretty good. And this is the plug for the lower elevator skin, and as you remember, we already created one mold for this, so now we've gone and, or the guys have gone and moved where those access panels were, sort of filled in one and opened up the other, and so they're ready to lay up, pretty much ready to lay up the second mold off of that. And back on the door locks, so here I had to go and drill out the back side here so these pins have somewhere to move to when they're opening and closing like that. So I had to do basically 14 of those, so 7 on each door. And again, as you know, this is only just for the prototype. This door is just way too involved with the locks the way they are, so everything you see on the doors again is only for the one-off for this aircraft. And the guys here, you can see putting the glass over the bracing there for that lower cowling mold. Just about got that done. So now we're on to Friday morning, and this is what these look like after I took the rubber bands out of there. And you can see there's a little bit of the resin mix in behind there. So what I had to do is just sort of chip away at it carefully with a really small chisel, and then go back and re-tap the holes if necessary. And this is what it looks like when it's cleaned out, because you know the idea is that we're putting a bolt in there, and I'll show you that shortly how it works out. But you can see through there, if you look carefully in there, you can actually see the sleeve there where the pin comes through for the hinge for that side. Just if you look very closely, you can just see the metal there and the little bit of light coming through from the outside. Okay, so this is how it works, and the bolts that I'll be using will actually be shorter than this, but basically if we need to take the doors off, we would put a little metal sort of screwdriver in through that hole and be able to push the pin out for the door. But when it's in normal use, the bolt would be going in there, and it actually sits right in front of where that thing is. And right now I've just put the bolt in just a little bit so it's not in the way, and you can see the pin actually can slide all the way in and the door would be able to fall off. And if I screw the bolt all the way in there, it basically ends up right at the back of where that bushing is, or the sleeve is. And now if I push on that, the pin, it doesn't go any further. So this way the door pins will stay in place, and you'll see later on when we have another fitting inside the door frame itself to stop the pin from sliding back the other way. So anyway, here's Jeff starting the layup on these door hook receiver boxes there. This is the final layup to finish, well actually almost the final layup to finish those off. And here he's just done the one side, done the 3 as of Friday afternoon, so those have got the peel ply on there, and then hopefully Monday I'll be able to trim those off a little bit and get the hole drilled for where the receiver pin sits, and then we're getting very close to actually finishing everything with respect to the door hook setup for the doors. And here's that first mold that was pulled off of that plug for the lower elevator skin, and you can see the guys already waxed that and prepped that for laying up, which will be a while, but it doesn't hurt for them to actually prep it all and just put it to one side. And here they got the materials all cut to lay up the other one, which will probably be sometime next week. And the guys got this plug for the main spar for the foreplane all waxed, so that just needs the rubber profile put on there. And Zach's going to be on vacation next week, and then 2 days the following week after, so it'll be a little bit man down. And now that those little closeouts that I showed you on the hinge pins are done, I got the roof braces trimmed and prepped now, so they're ready to bond in place, which will be probably Monday. And that's just another step forward towards getting everything done for the post-curing that will eventually happen once everything's all set up for that. Anyway, that's our update for this week, and tune in next week. I'll probably be working on some of the stuff for the rudder pedals as well, because I got the materials that I ordered arrived. So thanks again for watching.